Hello, and welcome to my channel. Relax, and get ready to listen to today's story. Now I'm going to tell you a cozy story about a magical world of fairies that is hidden from human eyes. In the heart of the enchanted forest, where the trees whispered ancient secrets and the air hummed with magic, Serafina awoke to the gentle rustling of leaves and the sweet songs of birds. Her eyes fluttered open, filled with wonder and curiosity as she gazed at the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy above. The forest seemed to come alive around her, beckoning her to explore its hidden depths. With a sense of anticipation coursing through her veins, Serafina rose from her bed of moss and wildflowers, her bare feet sinking into the soft earth below. She brushed a stray lock of golden hair behind her ear and took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of pine and wildflowers that enveloped her like a comforting embrace. Today, she thought to herself, would be a day of adventure and discovery. As she set out on her journey, the forest seemed to shift and change around her, revealing new wonders at every turn. She marveled at the intricate patterns of sunlight dancing on the forest floor, at the delicate tracery of spiderwebs glistening with dew, and at the symphony of bird calls that filled the air with their melodic tunes. Serafina's heart swelled with gratitude for the beauty that surrounded her, for the magic that pulsed through every leaf and blade of grass. She knew that this forest was more than just a place. It was a living, breathing entity, a sanctuary of wonder and enchantment that she was privileged to call home. As Serafina wandered deeper into the forest, her curiosity grew like a flame in her chest, urging her to seek out new experiences and encounters. It wasn't long before she stumbled upon a clearing bathed in golden light, where a group of fairies flitted about like ethereal beings, their wings shimmering with iridescent colors. Mesmerized by their beauty and grace, Serafina approached them with a mixture of awe and excitement. The fairies turned to her with curious eyes, their laughter tinkling like wind chimes in the breeze. One of them, a sprite with emerald wings and eyes as bright as stars, fluttered closer to Serafina and spoke in a voice as soft as a whisper. "Welcome, child of the forest," the fairy said, her words laced with magic. "What brings you to our realm on this fine day?" Serafina smiled warmly at the fairy, her eyes shining with wonder. "I come in search of knowledge and adventure," she replied. "I wish to learn more about the secrets of this enchanted forest and its mystical inhabitants." The fairy's eyes sparkled with mischief as she nodded in understanding. "Ah, a seeker of mysteries," she said. "You are most welcome here, dear one. Come, join us in our revelry and let us show you the wonders of our world." And so, Serafina found herself swept up in a whirlwind of laughter and magic, dancing with the fairies beneath the canopy of ancient trees. As she twirled and spun in their midst, She felt a sense of belonging unlike anything she had ever known, a connection to this enchanted realm that stirred something deep within her soul. Days turned into weeks, and Seraphina's bond with the fairies deepened with each passing moment. She spent her days exploring hidden glades and sparkling streams with her newfound friends, listening to their tales of ancient lore and sharing in their joyous celebrations. One day, as she wandered through a grove of luminous mushrooms that glowed like lanterns in the twilight, Seraphina came upon Elder Willow, a wise old fairy with silver hair and eyes that held the wisdom of ages. The elder fairy regarded her with a knowing smile, as if she could see into Seraphina's very soul. "Ah, young one," Elder Willow said in a voice like rustling leaves. "I have watched you with great interest these past weeks. You possess a rare gift, a heart that beats in harmony with the rhythms of this forest." Seraphina bowed her head respectfully before Elder Willow, feeling a sense of reverence for this ancient being who had seen so much in her long life. "I am honored by your words, Elder Willow," she said. "I only wish to learn from you and my fellow fairies, to understand more deeply the magic that surrounds us." Elder Willow's eyes twinkled with amusement as she gestured for Seraphina to sit beside her on a bed of moss. "Child," she said gently, "the magic you seek is not something that can be learned from books or spells. It is woven into the very fabric of this forest, into the songs of birds and the whispers of trees. To truly understand it, you must open your heart and listen." And so, Seraphina spent hours in Elder Willow's company, listening to her tales of bygone days when the forest was young and teeming with life. She learned of the delicate balance that existed between all living things, the give and take of nature's dance, the interconnectedness of every creature and plant. One day, as Seraphina ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, she stumbled upon a hidden glade bathed in ethereal light. In the center of the clearing stood a group of majestic unicorns, their coats gleaming like spun gold in the sunlight. Seraphina gasped in awe at the sight before her, feeling a sense of wonder unlike anything she had ever experienced. The unicorns regarded her with eyes as deep as starlit skies, their presence filling the glade with an aura of tranquility and grace. Seraphina approached them slowly, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and reverence. She reached out a trembling hand to touch one of the unicorn's velvety noses, feeling a surge of warmth and connection pass between them. "Beautiful creatures," she whispered softly. "I am honored to be in your presence." The unicorns nuzzled against her hand affectionately, their gentle whinnies filling the air with music. Seraphina felt tears pricking at the corners of her eyes as she gazed into their luminous eyes, seeing reflected there a wisdom and purity that touched her soul. As she spent time among the unicorns, Serafina felt a sense of peace settle over her like a warm blanket on a chilly night. She knew in that moment that she was exactly where she was meant to be, in this enchanted forest, surrounded by creatures of myth and magic who accepted her without question or judgment. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, a shadow began to fall over the enchanted forest, a shadow cast by the encroaching presence of humans who sought to exploit its riches for their own gain. Serafina heard whispers among the trees, felt the tremors in the earth beneath her feet. The forest was in danger, its delicate balance threatened by those who did not understand or respect its magic. One fateful day, as Serafina wandered through a grove of ancient oaks whose branches reached for the sky like outstretched arms, she heard the harsh sounds of axes biting into wood and chainsaws roaring to life. Her heart clenched in fear as she realized what was happening. The humans were cutting down trees, destroying the very heart of the forest that she loved. With a cry of anguish, Serafina raced towards the source of the destruction, her eyes blazing with determination. She arrived at a clearing where men in rough clothing hacked away at towering trees with no regard for the life they were taking. Anger surged through her like wildfire as she confronted them, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "Stop!" she cried, her words laced with magic. "You have no right to desecrate this sacred land. Leave this place at once or face the consequences of your actions." The men turned to her with sneers on their faces, their eyes cold and unyielding. One of them stepped forward menacingly, brandishing his axe as if it were a weapon of war. "And who are you to tell us what we can or cannot do?" he spat. "This forest belongs to no one, it is ours for the taking." But Serafina stood her ground, her hands glowing with an otherworldly light as she summoned all her courage and power to protect the forest she loved. With a flick of her wrist, she sent a wave of energy surging towards the men, knocking them off their feet and sending them fleeing in terror. As word spread among the human settlers about the mysterious guardian of the forest, a young girl with powers beyond comprehension, Serafina found herself facing more frequent confrontations with those who sought to exploit its resources for their own gain. But each time they came at her with axes and fire in their eyes, she met them head-on with unwavering resolve and a fierce determination to protect what was hers. One day, as she patrolled the borders of the enchanted forest on high alert for any signs of intrusion or danger, Serafina caught sight of a group of humans armed with torches and pitchforks advancing towards her domain. Their leader, a burly man with a scarred face and eyes that gleamed with malice, strode forward confidently, his voice booming across the clearing. "So you're the one they call the Forest Guardian," he sneered. "A mere slip of a girl standing against us. You must be truly desperate if you think you can stop us from claiming what is rightfully ours." Serafina squared her shoulders and met his gaze unflinchingly, her eyes ablaze with defiance. "This forest is not yours to claim," she declared firmly. "It belongs to all who dwell within it, to every creature and plant that calls it home. I will not let you destroy it for your own selfish desires." The man laughed derisively, raising his torch high as he advanced toward Serafina with menacing intent. "We'll see about that, little fairy," he growled. "Prepare yourself for a fight you cannot hope to win." But Serafina was undaunted by his threats, drawing upon the power that flowed through her veins like a river of light. With a wave of her hand, she summoned vines and brambles from the earth itself to entwine around the human's legs, trapping them in place as they struggled in vain to break free. As Serafina stood triumphant amidst the ensnared humans, her heart heavy with sorrow for what they had become, greedy and blind to the beauty that surrounded them, she knew that there was still much work to be done to restore harmony to the enchanted forest. She sought solace in Elder Willow's wise counsel, knowing that only by uniting their efforts could they hope to overcome the threats that loomed on the horizon. Gathering together all those who called the forest home, fairies and unicorns, sprites and dryads, Serafina spoke passionately about the need to stand together against those who sought to destroy their world for profit and power. She urged them to remember what it meant to live in harmony with nature, to respect its rhythms and cycles, its delicate balance that sustained them all. Elder Willow nodded in agreement as she addressed the gathered assembly with words that rang like bells through the air. "My friends," she said solemnly, "we are all guardians of this sacred place, the keepers of its magic and its mysteries. We must unite our hearts and minds in defense of all that we hold dear, to protect it from those who would seek to harm it." And so, under Elder Willow's guidance, Serafina and her fellow inhabitants of the enchanted forest vowed to work together as one, to heal its wounds and restore its beauty for generations yet unborn. They knew that their task would not be easy, that there would be challenges ahead, but they also knew that they were stronger together than apart. As tensions between the fairies and humans reached a boiling point, a clash between two worlds on a collision course, Serafina felt a sense of foreboding settle over her like a shroud. The air crackled with electricity as both sides prepared for what seemed inevitable, a final showdown that would determine the fate of the enchanted forest once and for all. One moonlit night, as shadows danced across the forest floor like specters from another realm, Serafina stood at its edge gazing out towards where the humans had set up camp, a dark blot on the landscape that threatened to consume everything in its path. She knew that they would not stop until they had razed every tree and destroyed every living thing in their path. But she also knew that she could not stand idly by and watch as her home was torn apart before her very eyes. With a resolute expression on her face and fire burning in her heart, Serafina made a decision that would change everything. She would confront the humans head-on and show them once and for all what it meant to fight for something worth protecting. As dawn broke over the horizon in hues of pink and gold, signaling a new day dawning in more ways than one, Serafina gathered her allies around her, the fairies flitting on delicate wings, unicorns stamping their hooves in anticipation, and led them towards the human encampment with purposeful strides. The clash between fairies and humans was fierce, a battle fought not just with swords and spells but with hearts united in common cause. As arrows flew through the air like deadly raindrops and magic crackled around them like lightning in a storm, Serafina knew that their only hope lay in standing together against overwhelming odds. But despite facing challenges and setbacks along the way, losses suffered and sacrifices made, the fairy community remained resolute in their determination to protect their enchanted forest at all costs. They drew strength from one another's courage and resilience, from Serafina's unwavering leadership and Elder Willow's sage wisdom, and refused to back down in the face of adversity. As night fell over the battlefield like a cloak woven from shadows and stars above watched silently from their celestial perch, Serafina found herself standing alone against their most formidable foe yet, a human warrior whose skill with sword matched his cruelty towards nature itself. But even as he raised his blade high above his head in preparation for a final strike, a blow meant to end everything they had fought for, Serafina raised her own hands towards him with an expression both fierce and compassionate. "Stop!" she cried out with all her might. "This violence serves no purpose but destruction. We must find another way, a way to coexist in harmony with nature rather than against it." And though he hesitated for but a moment, a flicker of doubt crossing his eyes like shadows passing over moonlit waters, the human warrior lowered his weapon at last, and listened. In that moment, when swords were lowered and shields cast aside, when fairies stood side by side with humans under starlit skies, they found common ground at last, a shared understanding born from conflict overcome through compassion. The human warrior knelt before Serafina, his eyes filled not with fear but wonder, as he spoke words that echoed through both worlds like an ancient prophecy fulfilled. "I see now," he said softly yet resolutely. "I see what I could not see before, that this forest is not ours to conquer but ours to protect, ours to cherish as part of something greater than ourselves." And as he rose once more, together with his comrades in arms who had laid down their weapons alongside him, Serafina felt tears welling up in her eyes, tears not just for what had been lost but for what had been gained through struggle born out of love. For in that moment, a moment when enemies became allies, when darkness gave way to light, they forged a new path forward together, a path towards healing old wounds, towards restoring balance between worlds long divided. In the aftermath of their shared victory over conflict, over strife sown from ignorance, the inhabitants of both worlds came together as one community united by newfound respect for each other, for nature itself, for all living things bound by threads unseen yet unbreakable. Serafina reflected on all they had learned, from hardship endured to triumph achieved, and felt gratitude welling up within her like a spring renewed after winter's long embrace. "We have come far," she said solemnly yet joyfully. "We have faced our fears, overcome our differences, found strength where we thought there was none, and emerged stronger because we did it together." And as Elder Willow nodded in agreement, as fairies danced around them in celebration, as unicorns stamped their hooves on earth now safe once more, Serafina knew that their journey was far from over, but that they were ready for whatever lay ahead because they had each other, because they had learned what it meant to truly live in harmony with nature's song. In days that followed, the enchanted forest thrived once more, its trees standing tall, its flowers blooming bright, its creatures returning home after long absence now ended, thanks to efforts made by all who called it home, thanks to unity forged from diversity, thanks to love shared among those who once stood apart. And as Serafina gazed out over land now restored, its lush greenery vibrant once more, its air filled not just with birdsong but laughter too, she knew that their work was far from done, but that they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead because they had each other, because they had learned what it meant to truly live in harmony with nature's song. And so, underneath canopy where sunlight filtered through leaves like blessings bestowed, where wind whispered secrets carried on breeze, Serafina smiled, knowing that though darkness might come again, though trials might test them anew, they would face it all together, and emerge stronger because they did it side by side. For theirs was not just story told but lived, not just journey taken but shared, not just victory won but earned, through courage shown, through lessons learned, through love given freely, in enchanted forest where magic dwelled, where hearts beat as one, where harmony reigned forevermore.